Hello from Budapest. I've spent the last couple of days here having a fantastic time. I've just showered and waiting for my transfer to the hotel, and I thought I'd sum up my trip and kind of focusing in on the keynote I did for Visa. I'm sitting in the lobby of the Hilton here, which is just so beautiful, and the experiences these hotels create are just fascinating. I did a trip recently to Abu Dhabi, and the government of Abu Dhabi's retail arm called Al Dar asked me to come in and speak to the board on the future of retail. And it's always a little bit tough to go in to speak to specialists and experts on the concept that they are so good at. And obviously, being retail on that trip, I had to do extensive research on figuring out what the future of retail looked like. I called that keynote the end of the middle, and it was very much about the end of the way we shop, where we spend 90% of our time really focusing in on getting the mundane things from the grocery stores and the shopping centers, which we are so over and we actually hate doing. And that's all shifting, and we are moving in towards a much more experiential sort of node of community, and retail is now needing to focus in on creating the nodes of coffee makers, bakers, and candlestick makers, rather than focusing on these huge shopping centers. Anyway, that keynote was that. I called it the end of the middle. I then got asked to come and speak to Visa on their annual conference on the future of payments, where they have bankers from around the world, their global economists, and all their specialists on future of payments. And again, here I am trying to figure out what my angle will be to come in and tell these experts on payments and finances about something they know so well. And so you can understand it's a very tricky process, because you have to get the tone right, you have to get the messaging right, and you have to make sure that you're telling them something they don't know, because everybody's got access to Google. So you can just Google the top 10 trends on future of payments and kind of get the gist of it. So I started interviewing some tech startup entrepreneurs, fintech startup entrepreneurs. I interviewed my friend in New York, Yossi, who's the heads up blockchain for Techstars. He brings in Techstar startups that are focused on blockchain. I interviewed a bank CEO. So I interviewed a whole bunch of different people. Plus I interviewed some people from Visa itself. And I called this keynote The Revolution. And you know, besides us really going down into the depths of cryptocurrency, blockchain, AI, and these sort of scenarios, which are the sort of common traits of the future of payments and money. I mean, there isn't really anything else besides that. We are far away from the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And so over the next 5 years, I really feel that people are still going to be connecting fintechs and banks and using Visa and MasterCard and the likes to use as their railway tracks. So they're kind of stable for the next 5 years, but there's a revolution coming. And this is what I got from the interviews was the revolution is a quiet one. It's a subtle one. It's not a revolution like you would think, which is violent and loud and that sort of thing. The revolution is quiet, and the revolution one is one of awareness. It's one of where human beings that are leading these fintechs measure success differently to the banks. This is a revolution of consciousness, a revolution of waking up, of maturing. And when I was interviewing the bank CEO, the people at Visa, the top people there, and when I was interviewing the fintech CEOs, there was a massive difference. The difference was the fintech CEOs and the blockchain specialists were not there to make profit. They were there to make impact. And when you are competing against somebody that measures success differently to you, you are in big trouble. Because what they have is sustaining power, sustaining focus of what they're trying to do in bringing about this revolution that will topple people that are focused on balance sheets and profits on a quarterly basis, and will see them move out the way while they create this impact. One of the CEOs I interviewed was so adamant about creating this concept of the future bank that would give back to its customers the savings that it was making. And it was just so incredible listening to him compared to the CEO of the bank, which was all about profit. And so you have this dichotomy where these leaders that are sitting in these banks are focused on these quarterly profits, and these people that are coming in that are looking at disrupting them, or even, let's go one step further, creating a revolution, are really looking at it differently. And the reason this revolution is coming about is also really interesting, is that we sit in the transition of two different types of society. You see, the same thing happened when we went from agricultural times to industrial times, and that shift also changed what we see as value. And what's happening now is we're moving from industrial times to quantum times, and what's starting to happen is that this very essence of value is shifting our mindsets as well as our societal structures. And so what we have is our minds that are in the future, trying to create the future, but societal structures still stuck in industrial times. So, for example, corporations, education, bonus structures, these things are all stuck in industrial times, but half of our heads, brains, thinkings, and intentions are about the future. So we all sit in this sort of transition phase, which is really the shift of what value is. Whereas before, people made so much money off communication and energy, we're moving towards that becoming free, and education becoming free. So you understand that the value that's shifting, and these people that are stuck in industrial thinking are stuck, and this revolution is going to come and quietly sweep them out the way. And if they don't wake up, they don't become conscious, they don't become aware, and they don't start measuring success as a conscious, mature human being, the revolution will win, no doubt. Anyway, I've loved every minute of Budapest. I always love researching these talks. I, in fact, changed the last chapter of my book, Foresight, based on this revolution, because it was so glaringly obvious that the winner will be the person that's making decisions based on impacting the earth rather than what their balance sheet looks like. Ciao from Budapest.